Hey there, chemistry students. Welcome to Educate. In this video, we'll be continuing with our electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions. Today, we are doing the Friedel-Crafts isolation reaction, which is reaction number 5. Make sure that you have watched other electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions that we have done, such as halogenation, nitration, sulfonation, as well as Friedel-Crafts alkylation. In this one, we will be reacting benzene ring with an acyl chloride so that we can get or we can also use a carboxylic acid anhydride so that we can form an aryl ketone. We'll explain all of these terms as we go on. But remember, basically, we're not talking about these electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions. These are just reaction with the benzene ring or with benzene. So basically, in this one, we are reacting benzene with either acyl halide or we are using a carboxylic acid to be able to react with benzene ring so that we can form an aryl ketone. How does an aryl ketone look like? Basically, an aryl ketone, you have your benzene ring. So it just consists of a benzene ring, and that benzene ring has got is bonded to a carbon that has got a double bond oxygen or a carbonyl group, and then it is bonded to another carbon chain. So this is known as an aryl ketone. Remember that you have learned of ketones, that the functional group of ketones, it is the carbonyl group, which is the carbon double bond oxygen. So basically, when you say an aryl ketone, it's a combination of the benzene ring that is bonded to a carbonyl group and a certain carbon chain. So this R, it can be one carbon, two carbons. We'll see how we become specific about it. So for us to be able to do this, we need to use a catalyst. And this catalyst that we use for a Friedel-Crafts alkylation reaction, we use aluminum chloride as the catalyst. Remember, aluminum chloride is basically AlCl3. This is the molecular formula for aluminum chloride. So basically, this is an example of the products that we expect to get when we make this Friedel-Crafts acylation reaction. So we start off with the benzene ring, this benzene, and then we react it with an acetyl. This is an example of an acyl halide. In this case, we have got acetyl chloride, and then the catalyst that we're going to use is this aluminum chloride, excess and also excess benzene at a higher temperature. Then this is the aryl ketone that we get. The name of this one is known as acetophenone. You can see that this is the benzene ring, and then bonded to it is a carbonyl group. It's a carbon double bond oxygen. This is a carbonyl group, and then this is bonded to one other carbon. So this is known as acetophenone, and then the byproduct that we get there is HCl. So just to understand that this is a substitution reaction, remember that the benzene ring has got a 6 carbons and 6 hydrogens. So it means here we have got a hydrogen, although we don't write it since this is a skeletal structure. So basically, how does this substitution work? This hydrogen is actually replaced by this part, this carbon double bond oxygen part. You can see that this is a carbon double bond oxygen and a carbon here. Let me just highlight that so that you can see properly. So this is a carbon here, and then this is a carbon double bond oxygen. This is a carbonyl group. Okay, so we're actually going to replace what? We are going to replace this hydrogen with this part that I've circled in yellow. Okay, that is why we're having this product whereby we are now having a benzene, and this benzene is no longer bonded to the hydrogen. Instead, it is bonded to this yellow part. This yellow part that has got a carbon double bond, a oxygen or a carbonyl group, and then it has got another carbon. This yellow part, it is the same thing as this one. So we say this is a substitution reaction. It's not an elimination reaction. It's not an addition one. It's a substitution because we are replacing something with something. We are replacing what? We are replacing this hydrogen that is found on carbon number 1, or that is found on this carbon that I'm highlighting here. We are replacing it with what? With this part, which is a carbon double bond oxygen bonded to another carbon here. So we are replacing it with that part. Then this hydrogen is going to bond with this Cl here, because you can see that here, as much as we remove this hydrogen, there is also a Cl here. So the combination of this hydrogen and this Cl will give us HCl as a byproduct, and we'll have acetophenone as the main product or as the major product. And then We can also use this example as well to demonstrate this Friedel-Crafts isolation reaction, whereby we take a benzene ring. This is our benzene, and then this benzene, we are reacting it. In this case, we're reacting it with acetic anhydride. Acetic anhydride, you can see that it is just this compound that you can see here. This is a carboxylic acid anhydride. Remember that we say that we can react a benzene with an acyl halide, such as this one that I first mentioned, or we can use a carboxylic acid anhydride, which is this one. So this is acetic anhydride, for example. So when we react these two, you can see what's happening here. A similar mechanism is happening. Basically, remember that we're having a hydrogen here on this carbon in the benzene ring, and then we are going to replace this hydrogen. This hydrogen, we are going to replace it with what? We are going to replace it with this group. So we are replacing it with this group. So in our final product, you can see that our final product here, it has got the benzene ring, and then this benzene ring next to it, we have got this group here, the one that we have replaced hydrogen with. So this is an electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction. And you can see that this hydrogen that remains here, the hydrogen that we've eliminated, it will now bond with this other part of this acetic anhydride. So this will form this carboxylic acid as a byproduct. So this is just a demonstration so that you understand that this is what there's an electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction. I repeat again for the last time. When we are doing the Friedel-Crafts isolation reaction, we are reacting a benzene with what? With an acyl halide. An acyl halide is basically something that has got a carbonyl group, something like this, as long as there's a carbon double bond oxygen, okay, and then it is bonded to a halogen or maybe chlorine or whatever. But as long as there's a carbon double bond oxygen, that makes what? An acyl halide, okay, an acyl halide. So we are reacting a benzene ring with an acyl halide or a carboxylic acid anhydride, such as this one that is indicated in reaction number 2. And then the whole aim of this Friedel-Crafts isolation reaction, it is to form an aryl ketone. So an aryl ketone, as I've already explained, it is just a ketone version of a benzene. Okay, so basically you are having a benzene that is connected to a carbonyl group or a carbon double bond oxygen, and then this is bonded to any other carbon chain. Okay, so this is the whole purpose of this. It's an electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction. Now let's go to the reaction mechanism. Here it says the question, give the full reaction mechanism for the following. So here we're doing a reaction mechanism. When we're doing a reaction mechanism, remember that since we said that this is a substitution reaction, during a substitution reaction, you have learned that we need two things. We need a nucleophile, and then we also need an electrophile. Remember, a nucleophile, it is the one that has got a lone pair of electron, and then the electrophile, it is electron deficient or it's electron poor. It doesn't have electrons. So usually you find that the electrophile is usually slightly positively charged, whereas the nucleophile is usually slightly negatively charged. So the reaction of a substitution reaction, the substitution reaction simply works in this way. The nucleophile does what? It gives its lone pair to the electrophile so that they can form a bond. So we use an arrow coming from the nucleophile going to the electrophile. I'm just reminding or refreshing your mind here so that you always know that whenever we're talking about a substitution reaction, the mechanism works in such a way that the nucleophile is a lone pair of electrons and is slightly negatively charged, whereas the electrophile is slightly positively charged. So electrons, they migrate or they move from the nucleophile and they go towards the electrophile to form a bond between them. So it will be a nucleophile bonded to the electrophile, something like this. This will be the final product. So these electrons were used to make a bond between the nucleophile and the electrophile. So now that your mind is refreshed, let us now apply this into this particular reaction. So now you can see here that we are given what? We are given the benzene ring. So this benzene, remember that in electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction, the benzene always acts as a nucleophile. So we know that the benzene is nucleophilic, or the benzene, it is the one that has got the lone pair of electrons. Remember that benzene has got a pi system inside it. You have learned this in first year level, that when you're having a benzene ring, we have got pi electrons. Okay, these double bonds, they consist of pi electrons, and these electrons are delocalized, or they are easy to move. Okay, I've made a video introducing the benzene ring, so you are now aware that benzene is always a nucleophile during these electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions. So now let us now show the mechanism. Remember, we said that we need a nucleophile as well as an electrophile, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, we need a nucleophile and an electrophile. The nucleophile is benzene, as we have already stated, but the electrophile, in this case, we do not have an electrophile. Look at this. What are we reacting with here? We are reacting here with this acyl chloride. This is an acyl chloride. Remember, when you say acyl chloride, simply means that we have got a carbon double bond oxygen, or a carbonyl group bonded to a halogen. In this case, the halogen is Cl, so this is an acyl chloride. This R here, it is just representing a number of carbon chains. It can be 1 or 2 or whatever, but this is just general for you to be able to just make the mechanism. So this is an acyl chloride. So this acyl chloride, it cannot serve as a nucleophile, okay? Because remember, nucleophile are usually slightly positively charged. We must have a positive charge for something to qualify as a nucleophile, just in simple terms, okay? Because we do have a nucleophile, which is the benzene, but this is not yet an electrophile. I mean, yes, it's not yet an electrophile because it's not electron poor. So we need to first generate an electrophile. You can hear this statement that I've wrote here, that I've written here. It says an electrophile is always required. So for every electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction, we need to generate an electrophile first before we react with this nucleophile, which is our benzene. So the first task for this mechanism, it is to generate. So I'm going to write here is to generate an electrophile. And how do we generate an electrophile? That is where the catalyst is at work, or that's where the catalyst plays a role here. So we are going to take this acyl chloride of ours, and we are going to try and turn it into a nucleophile because it's not yet a nucleophile. So the catalyst that we have said that we use often, we use AlCl3, which is our aluminum chloride, or you can say aluminum trichloride, and we use excess benzene, of course, and a heat and all that. But here I'm only interested in the catalyst. So I'm going to take this catalyst. I'm going to take this acyl chloride. So this is my acyl chloride. Okay, it's my acyl chloride. I'm going to take this catalyst, which is my aluminum trichloride, and I'm going to react them in attempt to generate an electrophile. Remember, an electrophile must just have some atom that has got what? That has got a positive charge, to show that it is having a shortage of electrons, or it's having a lack of electrons. So now we are going to just draw this again and say that this is my acyl chloride. So this acyl chloride, I'm reacting it with what? With AlCl3, which is the catalyst. So the structure of AlCl3, it looks like this. And then now I'm just going to put the lone pairs, because these are Lewis diagrams that we use. So you must always indicate that we are having lone pairs of electrons as well as the bonding pairs. It's very important to indicate on both our substances. So now having these, remember that our oxygen also has got 2 lone pairs of electrons. So what will happen here actually? What is our attempt here in generating an electrophile? So what we want to remain with, remember what will actually bond with the benzene, it is this part. It doesn't have the Cl. I mean, the part that will bond with benzene, with the benzene ring, it doesn't have the Cl. I mean, look at this, guys. The reactant here is nucleophile. The nucleophile, which is the benzene, bonded to the, we are reacting it with the acyl chloride. But our final product is an aryl ketone. And this aryl ketone, it does not have a Cl in it. So we need to somehow get rid of the Cl when we are generating the electrophile. Okay, because you can see that the initial reactants, they've got Cl, but the product doesn't have the Cl. How do we get rid of the Cl? That is the whole purpose of this particular portion of the mechanism. So what will happen here? This reaction will start with Cl. Since Cl is kind of nucleophilic, because Cl is having a lone pair of electron. Remember, nucleophilic simply means having a lone pair of electrons. So in this case, this Cl is having a lone pair of electrons. It can go ahead and form a bond with the Al using the lone pair of electrons. Remember guys, what does this arrow represent? The arrow represents the movement of two electrons. Okay, a full arrow like this, it means two electrons are moving. And where would the electrons be moving from here? The electrons are moving from this acyl chloride or from this Cl here, and they are going to the Al. So please don't change the direction of the arrow. The arrow represents the electrons moving from Cl to Al so that we can form a bond between them. Okay, so please revise that FSD content, that the lone pair of electrons, they will move from the Cl and they'll go to Al, not from Al to Cl, because remember that the Cl, it is the one that is having a lone pair of electrons. The aluminum here in this case, it is not having any. It's having empty orbitals. It doesn't have any lone pairs, so it cannot make a bond using its electrons. It doesn't have them. Okay, but Cl is having an extra lone pair of electrons, so using that, it will bond to the aluminum there. So now after this bond is made, but basically this is going to be a reversible reaction. And how would it look like? This is going to be R, and then this is going to be our carbonyl group. And then remember that we are having two lone pairs on the oxygen, and then now we are having the Cl here. Okay, and then instead of three lone pairs, we are only going to have two lone pairs on the Cl, because we are going to use one to be able to bond with this Al. So now we are going to bond with this Al. Remember that the Al is bonded to three Cls. So this is the first Cl, this is the other Cl, this is the other one. So this is what we have. Okay. All right. So now let's look at the signs that we're going to use here. Remember that the Cl here, it was perfectly neutral. The Cl in this acyl chloride, it was neutral at first, but now it is losing a pair of electrons. Okay, this lone pair of electrons, we are going to use it to make a bond between Cl and Al, right? So in other words, the Cl is losing electrons. Okay, so as the Cl is losing electrons, the Cl will now become positively charged. So we put a positive on the Cl because the Cl is losing electrons. Guys, when we are making a bond in this case, I'm just reminding you of your basic concepts. When we are making a bond in this particular case, the electrons, Cl is having three lone pairs of electrons. That is perfectly neutral. A halogen must be surrounded by 8 in total. So you can see that this is 2, 4, 6, and 8 on this bond. So this Cl is neutral. But now that it has given a lone pair to the Al to make a bond, the Cl will now become positively charged because it is losing electrons. I'm sure you can see that the electrons here, there were three lone pairs, but now we're only having two. Okay, so the Cl is what? It is now having a positive formal charge. And then the aluminum, since the aluminum, it was neutral at first, right? In this AlCl3 thingy, it was neutral. The aluminum was neutral, okay? Because it was just neutral, it was perfectly fine. But because it is gaining electrons from where? From this Cl, of course, okay? So the Al here, the aluminum, it is gaining electrons from the Cl. So it will become slightly negative, or it will have a negative formal charge. Let's just say it will have a negative formal charge. So this is what we are having. But now let's just draw this again in generating our electrophile. So the final thing that we had in the previous slide, it was R bonded to a carbonyl group and then bonded to a Cl. And then this Cl, we say now is having a positive formal charge and two lone pairs bonded to an aluminum, bonded to a Cl again, and then bonded to a Cl again, and then bonded to another Cl. This was our final product when we were trying to generate an electrophile. Now the thing is, you know that a Cl, it cannot bear a positive formal charge. Basically, this thing of having Cl or this chlorine having a positive charge, it is more like an abomination in chemistry laws. So basically, this Cl, it cannot bear a positive formal charge. So what will happen here? the Cl will try to regain its neutrality, or this Cl, it will try to become neutral again. So it must try to get electrons to be able to close this positive charge. You know that if we are gaining electrons, the positive charge will just disappear. So basically, in some way here, we need to somehow make this Cl to do what? To gain electrons. Now the thing is here, we're having a carbon here. Remember that we have a carbon here, and this carbon is double bonded to the oxygen and is also bonded to the Cl. So what will happen? Remember that when we compare Cl and we compare carbon, so these two, we have got a carbon here and we're having a Cl here, and they are bonded to each other. Okay, so this is a carbon, this is a Cl, they are bonded to each other. When we compare their electronegativities, Cl or chlorine, it is basically more electronegative than carbon. When you compare carbon and chlorine, chlorine is more electronegative. Remember, what does electronegativity imply? It implies that chlorine, it has got a stronger pull on the electrons, or this Cl, it has got a stronger pull on the electrons. Although this carbon and chlorine are bonded to one another, but the Cl has got a stronger pull. And now that this Cl is now positively charged, it is more electronegative, or it is more electron pulling, or it pulls electrons more. It has got a greater pull on the electrons. Guys, this is basic stuff. You know it from your previous grades. I'm just emphasizing so that you remember. So this Cl, it is now more electronegative, so it will pull the electrons, and this bond between carbon and Cl, it will break. The electrons that are making up this bond, they will now go to the what? To the Cl. So what's actually happening here, the Cl, it is trying to regain its neutrality, or the Cl is trying to become neutral again, because now it's now positively charged. So when this happens, basically we're going to remain with this R that is bonded to what? That is bonded to this carbon, double bonded to this oxygen, and this oxygen having 2 electrons. Now the Cl is gone, so we cannot be writing this bond and saying Cl. This would be wrong because the Cl is now gone. The bond between carbon and Cl is over. Okay, if it's a relationship, is over. So basically, there is no way that we're gonna draw the bond between carbon and Cl. So because the bond has broken down and the electrons went to Cl, what will remain with here is this carbon is now going to now have a positive formal charge. So this carbon will now have a what? A positive formal charge. Why is this carbon having a positive formal charge now? It is because remember that carbon needs to have 4 bonds in total surrounding it. So at first, this carbon, it had 4 bonds surrounding it. It's 1, it's 2, it's 3, it's 4. Okay, that's 8 electrons in total because each bond consists of 2 electrons, right? But now it has lost some of the electrons, and the electrons have went to Cl, have gone to Cl. So since these electrons went to Cl, what will happen now? This carbon will now remain with only 3 bonds, so it has lost electrons. So it will now have a positive formal charge. Remember, a positive formal charge indicates somehow that there's been a loss of electrons here. So the other product that we'll have here is going to be plus. We're going to have our Cl. Remember, this Cl now, it will have what? It will now have 3 lone pairs of electrons. Remember here it was having 2. So here it was having 2, but now it will have 3 because it has gained another lone pair of electrons when this bond between carbon and Cl broke down. Remember, each bond consists of 2 electrons. So the moment we say that the bond between carbon and Cl is breaking, the electrons of this bond will go to Cl. That's why the Cl is now having what? The chlorine is now having a 3 carbons. And then on the other hand, we are going to have, this is Cl bonded to Al. And remember, the Al is still negative. And then this is Cl. And then this is the other Cl. We're just rewriting this product exactly as it is, okay? And then this is another Cl. So what has happened here? Basically, you've got your Cl has left, or your Cl, the bond between carbon and Cl broke down, and the electrons went to Cl because Cl was more electronegative. So this is now what we have here. So yes, we do now have our electrophile. Okay, so we have done one part. we've generated our electrophile. This is an electrophile indeed. Remember, I said that how do you even see an electrophile? The electrophile must have a positive charge. It must have a positively charged carbon. Okay, so this is our electrophile. But now, since you have learned of a resonance in a first year level, you probably know that this can undergo resonance stabilization. But basically, from the look of things, we can just say this is the most stable resonance of this electrophile. This is the most stable resonance. Please revisit your resonance structures. It's very important to know those key concepts, okay? So this is what? This is your stable resonance. Remember, a stable resonance, the positive charge, it must be found on a what? On a carbon, okay? So when the positive charge is found on a carbon, it's perfectly fine. It must not be on the oxygen, okay? So this is our what? This is our electrophile. Now we are just going to carry out the actual reaction. Remember, the actual reaction here, it must be between the what? The benzene with this whole thing. So now remember we said that our benzene is our nucleophile, or our benzene is nucleophilic. So now it is time for this benzene to now act nucleophilic, or to now donate the electrons. So this is our benzene ring. So taking this benzene ring and then taking this electrophile of ours, let me just invert it. Okay, let me just write it in this way, or I can just write it, I can just draw it in this way. I can just draw it in this way and say this is R and then this is oxygen. Okay, there's no need to draw the band or something. I can just draw it in this way. Still perfectly fine. Okay, so here I will just say this is my electrophile R, and then it is bonded to a carbon that is double bonded to an oxygen. Space constraints. Okay, so I'll just say it is R bonded to a carbon. This is a carbon itself, guys. This is a carbon, okay? And then this carbon is double bonded to an oxygen with some lone pairs, of course. So this is our electrophile. Remember that this carbon here, it is having a positive formal charge. This carbon is having a positive formal charge. Remember that how did we get the positive formal charge, right? When the Cl left, this is what we remained with. So this electrophile of ours, now let us now do the actual reaction. So the actual reaction, remember that we are going to break one of the double bonds in the benzene ring. Remember the benzene ring has got a double bonds, 3 double bonds in it, right? It's 1, 2, 3. But now we are going to break one of them, and we are going to use its electrons to bond with what? To bond with this carbon. Okay, so we are going to use those electrons to bond with this carbon that is having a positive charge. Remember the sequence that we use. We've got a nucleophile, right, having a lone pairs. We've got an electrophile that is positively charged with no lone pairs. So the electrons, they move from the nucleophile, they go and attack the electrophile, so that we can have what? So that we can have a nucleophile bonded to an electrophile. That's the sequence. So in this case, this is going to give us what? This is going to give us our benzene. So this is our benzene ring. I will draw it again. Okay. Now we are not going to show this double bond now because it's now broken. Okay. So this is our benzene ring. Hey, my diagram is kind of messy, but this is our benzene ring. So this benzene ring now, what happens? There will now be a bond to this carbon that is having a double bond to this oxygen, and then which is bonded to this R. And then here we're going to have a positive formal charge. Okay, let's just explain what happened here. So remember here, we say that we are breaking this double bond so that we can form a bond with this electrophile, or with this carbon having the double bond, or with this carbon in this electrophile, of course, the one that's positively charged, right? So now what's happening here? This carbon here that was part of the double bond, there was a carbon here that was part of the double bond. This carbon here, at first it was perfectly neutral. There was no charge on it because it was having 4 bonds surrounding it. Okay, it was having 4 bonds. It is, which bonds are we talking about here? It is 1, 2, 3, and the fourth one, it is the what? It is the hydrogen. Remember, there must be a hydrogen on every carbon in a benzene ring. So this carbon here, it was having what? It was having 4 bonds. It was perfectly neutral. But because we break this double bond, listen very carefully, we break this double bond, it is now only going to remain with 3 of them. Okay, so this carbon now will have a positive formal charge, because losing a bond simply means losing electrons. Okay, so when a particular atom is losing electrons, it becomes positively charged. It becomes a cation. Okay, so in this case, this is a carbocation. Okay, so in this case here, this carbon here is now positively charged because it has lost this bond that we have broken here. Okay, so now we need to remember one other thing here, that there is a hydrogen here. There is a hydrogen. Okay, remember that in an in a benzene ring, each and every carbon, it has got a hydrogen. So let me just indicate there is a hydrogen. So now let's explain this bond here. Well, how did this bond come about? So the electrons here from this bond that was broken, they were used to form a bond between this carbon here and this carbon having the positive charge. That's why we're having a bond from this carbon here. You can see this is the same carbon that I'm highlighting on both sides. This carbon here and the carbon that had the positive formal charge. So you can see that here, these electrons from this broken double bond, they were used to form a what? A bond between these two. That's why we are having it. This is the bond. But now let me just clear that up, if you understand, of course. So now you need to remember one other thing again. In all of these electrophilic aromatic substitution reactions, the benzene ring always remains aromatic. Okay, the benzene ring is an aromatic ring. It must always remain aromatic in the final product. For example, you can see here that since we're having this reaction, the final product, or this aryl ketone that we must be able to produce, it's consisting of a benzene ring having 3 double bonds in it, because this is not an addition reaction, it's a substitution reaction. So nothing must change within the benzene ring. The benzene ring must still be an aromatic ring, and it cannot be aromatic if it is not having all these 3 double bonds within it. So there must be a way for us to take this and make it to look like this, or there must be a way for us to restore the double bond here. Okay, so let me just rewrite this rhenium ion. This is known as an rhenium ion, of course, because this is just a benzene compound having a positive charge. Okay, so it's an rhenium ion. It's not actually a compound, it's an rhenium ion. So let's just draw it again here in the next slide. So the rhenium ion that we have here, it is just something like this. Okay, so it is our benzene ring. Okay, our formerly benzene ring, and it's having a double bond here, it's having another double bond here, it's having a positive formal charge here, and then this is bonded to this carbon that is bonded to an oxygen, a double bond, of course, and then this is bonded to a chain of carbons. And then remember, we said that we are always having a hydrogen on each and every carbon surrounding this benzene ring, or making up this benzene ring. So now, how do we get rid of this positive charge, or how do we move from here all the way to here? How do we regain this double bond here so that these two can be the same? So now we need to remember one thing. In our reaction mixture, we still have a product that we didn't account for. So in our reaction mixture, remember that we formed this product, this byproduct, and we ignored it. Now it's time to give it attention. This product is what is AlCl4 minus. Okay, it's aluminum having 4 Cl, and then there's a minus because this Cl, you can see that there's a negative formal charge. You need to remember how we got here. So we are going to be able to use it to be able to make this ring to regain its aromaticity, or to make this benzene to become like this one, or this rhenium ion to become like this aryl ketone product, the final product. So what are we going to do? So we are going to bring this AlCl4 minus. Remember, we had a Cl here, and then bonded to an Al, bonded to a Cl, of course, and then bonded to a Cl, of course, again, then bonded to another Cl again, and then this Al had a negative formal charge on it. So now what will happen here? For us to be able to regain the aromaticity on the ring, this Cl here, it will actually use its lone pairs once again. How will it use its lone pairs? It will actually go and attack this hydrogen. Remember that when you compare the carbon here that is bonded to the hydrogen, if we compare this carbon and the hydrogen, carbon is slightly more electronegative than hydrogen. So basically this hydrogen is a somewhat electron poor. It doesn't have so many electrons, or the electrons, it cannot pull electrons better. Yeah, it has got small electronegativity. You know what electronegativity is, right, guys? So basically, this Cl here, it will use its lone pairs of electrons to be able to form a bond between hydrogen and Cl. And then what will happen when it does just that? What will happen on the other side? The bond between the Cl and the Al, it will now break down, because now Cl is now trying to look for a hydrogen. So the aluminum is no longer entertained. So this bond will break down, and then the electrons will now go back to Cl. Okay. So what's basically happening here in simple terms? What's actually happening in simple terms? This Cl that is found in this ion that we have been able to form, this Cl, it has got an extra lone pairs of electrons. It was three of them, three lone pairs of electrons. It will use one of them to take this hydrogen, or to deprotonate this rhenium ion. So it's deprotonating it, or it's taking away its hydrogen in simple terms. So basically this Cl, as it is taking away the hydrogen, we need to remember that this hydrogen is already bonded to the carbon. So this carbon and this hydrogen, they're already bonded to one another. What will happen to the bond if this Cl takes away the hydrogen? Basically, what will happen here, the electrons of this bond, they will move, or they will migrate, and they will just move and form a bond here once again. So this is going to give us something like this. This is going to give us our benzene ring here. This is the benzene ring part. This is the bonds that we had at first. So what will happen here? We are going to have another bond now. This is now going to be a double bond once again. Where is this bond coming from? It's not coming from the air, guys. This bond is actually there. How is it formed? Basically, when the Cl takes away the hydrogen, or when the Cl deprotonates, when it takes away the hydrogen, the bond between this carbon and this hydrogen, it will break. But since a bond consists of two electrons, those electrons, they will go back into the benzene ring. They will go back into the benzene ring to form a bond here. So it means that this positive formal charge that is found on this carbon will no longer be there, because the positive formal charge, it means there's a lack of electrons. Since the electrons, they have moved from this carbon, or from this bond, they have moved here. Now this carbon will now become positively charged, will become neutral once again. But this other part is not affected. This other part having a carbonyl group and then bonded to the R. But now our byproducts that we're going to have here, we're going to have HCl as one of the minor products there. And then we're going to have AlCl3 as one of the minor products. Where this coming from, of course, you can see, guys, that here, the moment we remove this hydrogen, and then this bond shifts and comes here, we are going to form this aryl ketone, which is actually the final product that we're trying to form. I'm sure this is the final product. Yes, that's the final product. You're actually done forming the final product. Okay, but now you need to remember that this Cl has taken the hydrogen. Okay, this Cl is bonded with the hydrogen, and then now we're having HCl, that's hydrochloric acid. And then remember that the bond between Cl and Al broke down, so we will remain with aluminum having 3 chlorine atoms. Okay, call them that, but 3 Cl atoms. So these 3 chlorine atoms, this will be AlCl3. Okay, so basically here, this is the full mechanism of this Friedel-Crafts isolation. But the whole purpose here, remember, it was for us to react a benzene ring with an acyl halide so that we form an aryl ketone. This is an aryl ketone, a general aryl ketone, because this R, it simply means that there is a series or it's a chain of carbons. If it's one carbon only here, it is going to be acetophenone. And you know the naming of benzene derivatives. So you probably will know how to name different types of aryl ketones. But the basic mechanism of a Friedel-Crafts isolation reaction, it is just this electrophilic aromatic substitution reaction whereby the benzene ring will act as a nucleophile. Then we need to first generate an electrophile, then react it with the benzene ring to be able to finally produce our final product with two byproducts. So thank you so much for watching this wonderful video, wonderful chemistry students. Do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Tell friends to also stay tuned.